Hey everyone.
Hey, Joe.
All right. I would assume would leave the participants up when you switch from presenter to not presenter, but that's okay. Um, all right, we're only missing two. Let's get started. Um, so there's my agenda for today. A little bit of a follow up from the notes from last time, because I didn't see in those notes what the actual plan was. So I saw the notes from board requests, but I wasn't able to see anything else. So we can talk about, do we have a plan? How do we develop a plan for those? Does anyone have any other agenda items to bring up?
I have some questions for the lab portion.
Okay.
Is that Marcia?
All right. So we'll do that second.
I'm here too, Marcia, in case you need some backup on that one.
Laura, you're on you're off mute. If you might want to go on mute, for side conversations.
No, I was intentionally speaking.
Oh, what were you saying? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I was here to help Marcia.
Oh, excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't connect the two. That's my fault. that was listener error. Listener error.
Yeah, I didn't ping you yesterday to say we have an agenda item we need to review.
So. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so all right, so lab development. All right, any other agenda items? Okay, so first one's easy.
Hello.
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, this is Asim. Sorry, I was on mute. I had a suggestion for the budget, so I would like to actually present it to the board to
Okay, so this is
TSC.
a spending request.
Sorry, I did not get you.
I said this is so you have a basically an equipment purchase proposal.
Not specifically equipment. I have a suggestion for the maintainers that I think we should have for OPI. So it can be handled in the lab. So I'll explain when it's my turn.
Okay, that's fine. Excellent. All right. Anybody else? All right. Easy one. Schedule. So here's what I propose for the schedule. That next week we should do a working group update. I need to send an email on a specific request to the working group chairs or interim chairs, because unfortunately we still have an interim chair for life cycle and provisioning. But I propose that we do 15 minutes for each working group next Thursday, and get a written, get a short sort of a 1-page written summary with walking through it in Q&A. Any objections? I mean, I think we haven't had one of those in a while. I think it's valuable. All right. So this is So yes. Okay. I don't have any topics for December 14th at the moment. But there'll be a board meeting on the 11th, Monday the 11th, that I'll actually be able to attend. And so I'm sure we'll have follow up from that to discuss. And then we can see if anything else comes up. And then the December 21st and 28th, I propose we take a break. Just due to the the United States end of year holiday break setups that nearly every company does. I mean, certainly my company does it. I know some of your companies do it. So I propose that we don't meet on the 21st and 28th, and we resume on the 4th. And on the 4th, what I think we need to do is come back to sort of a big picture discussion. Like, what's our plan? What do we actually want to do? And what do we want to try to accomplish in the first 6 months of next year? Because we're at the point where I believe that matters. Any comments, questions, additional suggestions?
So I don't see Boris here this morning, Joe, but he put forth a proposal for a CLI sub-project. I don't know if you saw that. He has a pull request for it.
Okay, I saw the reference to it. I didn't see the
And I
project.
think he wanted an opportunity to discuss that in front of the TSC.
Okay, so I'll talk to him, and we can put that as
something for next week if he can attend next week.
I was going to put it on the 14th because next week I want working group updates, which will take the entire.
Right, that's fine. Yeah, as long as we get it on the calendar.
Yeah,
that's all I had. Thanks.
Didn't Boris talk about it in the last TSC call? The CLI thing,
I
right?
saw a reference to it, but I didn't see. I mean, was he ready for a review and vote? I'll ask him. I'll read the pull request and I'll ask him. All right. But yeah, we can do that review and potentially even voting on December 14th. No problem. All right. Anything else from kind of all right. Mercher and Lara, lab development. You guys are up. What's the story?
Okay, so lab is coming along. Devices are coming up. There is still work left, but I have a lot of information at this time that I believe we should not share publicly, like IPs, passwords, and few things. And right now we have Slack, but in Slack, anything after 90 days disappears. So I need, let's say, 2 GitHub repos that are private. One where I can put confidential things like quotes and things of this sort. And one on I can share, let's say, private information about the lab with people which will have access in the lab. So how do we get 2 private GitHub repos or any other solution to store information that is not going to be shared with the large public? And today we have a GitHub, a Slack confidential channel, but again, the information disappears from there. So
yeah, that's not. No, we don't. you don't want to use Slack as an archiving tool. That's not its purpose. And you can't use the mailing list because that's publicly archived. A private GitHub is sort of okay. So how does Hurricane Electric handle access to the lab setup?
They do not. What they did, I added to the list of people that can give them tasks, basically to the Linux Foundation account. But beyond that, they gave us a list of 32 public IPs. And even now, from my computer, I can just go in the lab with those IPs.
Okay.
And yeah.
So we basically need an authentication server running the lab. And
No. 2 places to store the information, not authentication lab. Let's say we'll find a technical solution and so on, but where to store?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So I have an idea, but okay. So if we need an authentication server, to get to the lab,
Right.
we need a domain name for the lab. We need a file system in the lab, and we put that's small but redundant file system, and we put all the information of that kind in a file system in the lab behind the authentication server. Is one way we could do it, so that we basically self-host our own private information. And if you have lab access, in other words, your credentials are on the allowed list in the authentication server, and you have you have access to the files on the file system, which can now be controlled. You basically just go there and get it. And again, it can be fronted with a web server to make access easy. Essentially, we create a private web server, and we put the documents and so on there. Is one way to do it. And so essentially lab access controls access to that information, and that information can be subsetted. And that's not a general dumping ground for any old information. It's really a tiny amount of information, but the controls are all in place. That's one way to do it. The second way to do it is we use our opiproject.org, and we make a private page, wiki, basically wiki, and files, right? We can make a private access to files in wiki in the setup you're looking at right now, and we could put the information there. So we could have files there that we control access by user account. And then the third way is obviously we could do a separate private GitHub repo within the overall structure, and only give access to that repo for people who need to access the lab.
Could also, Joe, do a Google Drive folder with restricted permissions?
Nope. So why do I say no? Because so that would be fantastic. Okay, so that's a fantastic idea, but it doesn't work for all of the corporate membership uniformly.
Got it.
That's one. So for some companies require you to have special permission if you're going to store anything on Google Drive, or even have access to it. And I don't want people using their home accounts on Google Drive for this kind of information. I want people using their corporate accounts. Make sense?
Got it.
Yeah, that's why. That's the only reason. Otherwise, yeah, that's a fantastic setup. The other thing we could do is like a Dropbox type thing, and have everyone access a shared Dropbox. There aren't as many restrictions on Dropbox that I know of. So that's a fourth way we could do it. Does any of those sound reasonable to anyone? Or does anyone have experience with doing this for other projects or other places? I mean, you know, some consortiums and projects use things like Causeway, which has very fine grained control over private documents. But you know, Causeway is a big overhead and a cost, which we don't want to take.
I prefer GitHub.
Okay.
And okay, 1 second, I'm speaking.
Huh?
Sorry, I don't know. I was hearing myself twice. Change my mic settings. So I prefer GitHub because it already has the authentication. It already has the storage. It already has a backup. So if we set it in the lab, we need to do all that work and take all the responsibility. This way, GitHub already handled everything for us: authentication, backup, everything. Plus, community already have GitHub accounts, and we can give access to different people.
Okay. Anyone else have any other opinions?
Sridhar in chat asked about using 1Password, which we have a subscription to. It's kind of clunky for this, but it
would be too
would work technically.
Yeah,
I mean, 1Password tool. Sorry, 1Password will use it to store the passwords only, yeah, but not all the other documents. Yeah. Like, I don't know,
no
support cases raised with different providers and prices and other things.
Not 1Password. Nope. It's not. That's the wrong tool for this job.
Yep.
Correct. I think private. Okay, so I think private GitHub is actually quite reasonable.
But are we going to store passwords in GitHub? Like we
no.
want to use
No,
Kerberos or something?
no passwords.
No. Password gets in 1Password, but only passwords go in 1Password. But there are a bunch of other things.
Okay.
So my request was that TSC was two private GitHub, one with people which make decisions that are in the lab confidential, make decision about prices, quotes, and other things, and one with people which want access in the lab to manage like the GitHub runners and things of this sort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can call them whatever, we could name them whatever we want, but so basically you want a lab oversight. And okay, let's vote on that. Can you just type up what goes in what repo? You know, pick names that are better than these, or use these if they're good enough.
I will send the typed proposal.
Okay, and then send to the mailing list that, you know, here's the pull request location, and that you'd like it to request a vote on it for the December 7th meeting. I think it'll be easy. Other thoughts? Yeah, I'm fine with again, in private GitHubs is fine as long as in is not very large. And then we have the discussion of, you know, who goes in which one, but that's
yeah. So we do have a list. We have a and I haven't seen it because I don't have access to this content, but we do have a list of people that are preliminarily defined. So we probably, what needs to happen is that there needs to be a review of who has access. We have that list already. Mersha has access to that list. I don't, but there needs to be a decision around who's reviewing it, who's reviewing that list, and who's giving approvals there to lab access. And also budget access.
We will review that in next TSC, yeah?
Well, next TSC, Joe wants to use it for status of the working groups
Yeah, we'll probably do it on the,
on the 14th.
probably end up on the 14th.
14th. Okay, that's fine.
I do have one more item if we are at a point of being able to
Yep.
move on.
So 1 second, let me
Yeah, we don't have to do
finish.
saying that I have one more item.
If I can share for a second, Joe, it doesn't let me share.
No, I'll
Joe is sharing.
we share it and I'll keep typing while you share.
Okay. So I want people to go to this PR under OPI POC 884 and provide their feedback here. We have few solutions. So Hurricane Electric assign us around 32 public IPs. We can have one idea, each device gets a public IP, but this, let's say, give a big attack surface and we need to patch all the devices, and while maybe we can get I don't know, like a jump box or like a VPN box or something, which only that one gets a public IP and everything else it's on a private network as part of the lab. So we have to worry only about securing and authentication and so on one device. That allows you then to access the lab. Currently, you can just type an IP in the browser and access all the devices in the lab. So it's again, that's the problem, and if people can give their feedback here and solutions will be great. And then we can put it to a vote also, let's say on 14, based on what ideas we have. And here there is also a diagram with what is in the lab already installed. And we can see them. So kind of this is what it's in the lab.
All right.
And how it actually looks.
All right. So let's review that on the 14th as well.
Yeah, that's all from my side.
Okay, review and approve. All right, so I've got that note. Wait a second. Okay, so we're gonna review. And then we'll review and approve.
And on that note, real quick, I'll say that F5 is in the process of getting a pair of F5 big IPs to be that front end authentication VPN server load balancer that'll proxy those public IPs to the resources inside the lab that we want. So that is underway.
Okay, so F5 is donating.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed the.
A physical pair of big IPs. I'm not sure what model yet, but
Yeah, these are appliance form factor. Oh,
yep.
Excellent.
So in talking about hardware for the lab, question for the room, we have a couple of outstanding asks for hardware from the community besides from F5. We were hoping to get components from Intel and Marvell. And I don't know where those stand at this point. I think there was an ask for an offering of an Intel server with an IPU in it, but maybe I misunderstood. And also we need a Marvell card, a CM1026. So we need to find out if we need to purchase those things or if those companies are offering to provide them.
Marvel should be able to provide the card. Did nobody from Marvel contacted Masha or either?
So we do have someone from the Marvell team on the in the proof of concept working group, but I don't know that he can connect us with hardware.
Okay, let me take an option on this. Okay.
Thank you, Satyananda. And then, who do we need to reach out to for hardware from Intel?
I've been
I
talking,
can do
I
that.
mean, I've talked in the
Yeah.
past to Mike Lynch, and he said he would provide it when it was available.
And somebody else just spoke up too in the background.
Yeah, this is Dan. I can chase that down for you.
Thanks, Dan. We really
Thanks, Dan.
appreciate that. That's awesome. I think that's everything. I believe that's everything from the POC working group for today. Unless you have anything else, Marcia?
No, that's
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, anything else at all, Laura or Marcia?
I don't think so. Not
Okay. Asim, you're up.
Yes, all right. So in the last governing board meeting, we like went through the budget, and we had a clause for the mentorship. And I was like, it is like just a suggestion that we should maybe have some budget for the maintainers. I'm currently not aware of the lab setup. I will actually go through that as well. But my actually point is that at OPI, we are actually like passively consuming the work. Like, for example, what Strong Swan has done for the Strong Swan, like VG plugin, similarly for Hotel and other things as well. So they keep on like adding new features, and maybe adopting some features might actually break our compatibility with them, I would say. So we should have some sort of mechanism of like having maintainers at OPI who actually work to maintain this compatibility with the latest version of those softwares that we are using. So that was my suggestion.
But so yeah, but so it's an interesting topic, but what your proposal is specifically for what? We spend budget to okay, I didn't follow. Maybe maybe I'm a little dense this morning, but so what's the actual proposal?
The proposal is maybe like to couple it with the lab, because that's where I would love CI/CD like to run. So to have some people over there who we can actually call like them as maintainers of the OPI, and they maintain the compatibility with the latest version of whatever software, third-party software that we are actually currently
Okay.
making OPI work with.
Okay, so basically, your request, if I rephrase it, is can we gauge Hurricane Electric um
It's not for the physical maintenance. I'm saying for the, like we have the maintainers for the Linux kernel, for the chemo. Talking from that point of view.
So,
So we
so
should,
you're saying, Asim, hire some software developers whose job it would be to maintain and do dependency sort of work, make sure that all of the dependencies are taken care of.
yeah, and that can be made part of the lab as well, because that's where we have our complete setup. And
but what do you, so part of the lab, I mean,
Could be that's where they do the work.
Yeah, where the work is done, that's why I got confused. So two things we could do. One is we could engage Hurricane Electric and see if they provide software maintenance service for installed lab equipment for some contract fee. And that's someone who works on a bunch of different projects, and they would work on this project, maintaining our stuff, some number of committed hours per week, and we pay some fee for that, and it's money well spent for the reasons you said, Asim. The other approach is we get a part of a Linux Foundation existing contractor, right? And we extend their contract to cover the work you're saying. And where that work gets done and how it gets done, it's certainly going to be accessing the lab and doing things in the lab. We would have to define pretty, extensively, here's what we want you to actually do. And, and then we would have to change it over time as our needs change and look at the overall cost within the overall budget, obviously. So those are the two approaches we could have, or did I miss a third one that you're proposing?
No, that was it. Pretty much the second one.
Okay, so Sridhar, does Linux Foundation have contractors that that we could engage on a fractional basis?
No.
Okay, so we would have to go and get a contractor, and I don't know that how much budget. Well, okay, we probably can't talk about that on a public call. Okay, so we would need to in a private call have a discussion about whether we would have the budget for such a thing. It's not a terrible idea. It's only a question of practicalities.
Yes, all right. It was just like a suggestion.
Yeah, just got a comment as well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, who's got a comment?
Merch has got his hand up.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I saw on some other communities they have like a bounty system, but that's mostly for like difficult bugs or big features, or they say, hey, 5K to whoever adds support for, I don't know, pick a VXLAN in OPI, whatever. And then if you really need to push something, but this is more like an ongoing stuff, maintenance, from what I understand. But if you want to pay people, I saw bounty system used that as well.
Yeah,
But that's
that
more
will
for like
actually,
a one-time thing.
like that is like another like point of view of the same thing, that maybe we can actually do it like this as well, that we actually like give people some bounty to actually add some features to the OPI. That can be another aspect as well.
Good.
So I'm not sure. I think that like maybe I've made everything like confusing, or
No, not confusing at all. So I think I'm capturing correctly. So so basically we're saying, can we hire or engage a contractor? Hire a contractor to maintain third-party tool and software library
yeah,
updates, maintenance, deploy, etc. That's the request. So basically,
yes.
what would what we would to do that one, we would have to, what would the detailed duties be? What would the scope, basically time commitment, and cost be? Could we do a for pay one-off work pay instead? And so, Asim, do you have I mean, do you have more? I mean, could you write down sort of the rough scope and time commitment the way you see it? I think this is an interesting idea, but
All right.
I think we need to see one level of down before we would say, yeah, let's go see if we can afford it. So I think
Yeah,
we
all right.
yeah. Okay, so basically, so
It almost fits into the intern
Correct.
sort of discussions we've had in the past.
Correct. And finding people to do this kind of thing should be an easy thing. Yeah.
oh, okay. So the first answer is maybe, but then somebody's going to have to oversee the intern, and
Yes.
Yeah.
that there are times when that is a net zero sum game.
Yes.
Okay.
Or
So,
even a losing game.
well, no, it's never a losing game because the goal is to train the intern.
Yeah.
But it isn't that you get what you get out of it is training the intern. Now, some interns, of course, turn out to be fantastic, and you get net positive input. Okay, so it is worth considering, though, Paul and Asim, could we tie this to the intern program? Need more detail. Okay, so we need a more detailed plan to assess.
Yes, all right. I'll share one with you.
And can we leverage? The other question is, and that goes up in this bucket. This is, can we? I need a class in stress typing. You know, when you're in front of people typing live, I
I
need
hate that.
I need like a training session or a class or something. All right, that's a good one. So, Seem, you're gonna just write down some more details on what sort of, and think about what the time commitment ought to be for that, or somebody else does this in their day job. They could estimates these kind of things. They could help Asim estimate, because we would have to know that, and we would have to have some limits and caps and all that. This just becomes program management stuff, and Sridhar can help, I think, on that part as well, since it has to do with spending the money of our consortium on things we care about. But we need another level down. Okay, but good stuff on arms. Any other comments on that idea from anyone at all? Even that, nah, we really shouldn't go this way because we're never going to get what we think out of it. All right. Excellent. Okay, so there were 4 topics, and I think tooling was actually the CLI. It was just written up funny, so I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so there were 3 other topics in the board meeting that, what I was trying to see, was an actual plan discussed, or was it just a general discussion with notes taken? Either one is fine. I mean, this isn't a criticism. It's what do we want to do about the other things? And these are the 3 topics I recorded, 4, 5, and 6, or from the other notes.
Okay, so on the topic 4, right, in the last meeting, due to lack of number of people, a lot of Dan Daly mentioned in the next meeting he can share his thoughts and inputs on that particular aspect. So maybe if we have time, and if Dan can share today, that will be helpful on the number 4.
Okay, and then number 5, was there any consensus on? And we'll come back to 4 and then do the deep on 4. But on 5, what was the high level?
On 5, the first we have to kind of summarize and put it in a place where are we now at this stage with respect to ION engagement, and what are our next actions? Would TSC as a whole will take the lead, or any specific working group within the TSC will take a lead? And maybe by next board meeting we can share our plan. So in TSC we haven't kind of zeroed in or finalized how our engagement with ION will be going ahead.
Well, we don't have any documents from them yet that I know of, right?
Yeah, that's what. So we have to kind of put it in maybe I'll kind of summarize and put it in one place. Where are we now with ION engagement? Then we can use that page to go ahead and update as and when there is a progress on that.
Yeah. So what I had said in 3 weeks ago in the last meeting I was able to attend, that we need the relevant documents for ION. And when we met at the little Linux Foundation Summit the week before that, I told them we need documents, and they said they're in preparation. So what we need to do is have okay. So Sridhar, can you reach out to ARPIT?
I will do that.
Find out what state the documents are in, because if we can't read the documents, we can't make any assessment. in my opinion. I don't know, does anyone else have a different opinion? But I think if we don't see the documents, we don't know what we're committing to, so we can't commit. And in particular, you know, the scope could be, you know, directly in line with the things that we're doing and want to do. And I think some of it is, but that ION project, it, you know, it doesn't have anything to do very directly with the ION stuff itself. It's the endpoint, you know, as you know, we've seen the overviews from them, and it's certainly interesting. I like that project, but I don't know how I would, you know, I don't know how any of us, I'll put it this way, would commit to anything without knowing the next level down on the details and the scope. Is that a fair assessment? Does that match what everyone else is thinking? Okay. Or rather, does anyone else have a different assessment of this?
Okay, I have an action on this.
Okay. And so I'll put did I miss an H in your name, Sridhar?
Yeah, there is an H in mine.
Sorry. I was like, that doesn't look right. Well, okay. Right. Okay. So I think that's the better summary than what can we do here. Okay. And then CXL.
Well, yeah. So in the last meeting, the answer was it's too early. So they said even though some of the TSC members' input was even though they have it in the back of their mind, even though they want to do going ahead in OPI, but as of today there is nothing we are doing on CXL. It's too early for that because we don't have a hardware, of course, for that. It might take maybe a few more years, I think. So it's too early is the answer.
Okay. So yeah, we're not allowed to discuss the CXL vendor hardware roadmaps in a recorded public meeting like this. That would violate all kinds of antitrust stuff. It's certainly true that there's not a lot of CXL hardware available in the market now. If you go do a search, you can't, you know, there's not much to find that you could get now. Many companies have a variety of plans for doing it. I know, throwaway statement, but people are planning to build CXL-based systems and CXL components and CXL switches. That solidly is in plan. The specification we can discuss fully, which is at, I believe, 3.1 rev. The hardware sort of that exists is at the 1.0 rev and doesn't really change much for DPUs. You know, the CXL.mem load store memory address semantics is you know, I don't know that there's okay. So we could say, hey, we want a common API for exposing DPU subsystems, DPU elements or abstractions as a essentially load store addressable endpoint. And we want to define a common API, which would be a spec more than open source. We could say that that's something that OPI ought to do, but I'm not sure that would go very far because, you know, CXL consortium itself is going to say, hey, if you're a compliant device, here's how you operate. And so there's already a spec for that. So I'm not sure what we would do other than maybe a config spec or open source. And I agree, it may be too early for that. Does anybody else have any different assessment on CXL and OPI as opposed to CXL in general, which is, you know, days of discussion that we can't have here? Okay, so the assessment here, so the conclusion here from everyone was nothing immediate to define. May want to define interface for this. Okay. All right. Anything else on CXL? Were there any other relevant points that I didn't understand? Or that anyone didn't understand? Again, it's not just for me to make the plan, it's for everyone.
So
Okay.
Joe, could you remind us the context in which CXL came up?
It was off of the board meeting.
ION context, in the context of ION itself, where Chris mentioned, ION is planning to go with CSL in near future. I don't know how near is that. And the question was from OPI, are we looking anything on that?
And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And short of a vendor announcing a CXL based DPU, I'm not sure it should be on our agenda.
Correct. That's exactly what even Boris mentioned last week.
If I may say something more general about ION. ION is looking at almost everything. And they have labs for different use cases, and all of it is very long term. ION is well known to be the 5 to 10 years type of a lab. And although it is owned and powered by NTT, and they've got a lot of members there that are helping, it's still long term, and it doesn't have any deployment partners, 0 at this point. The way we collaborate, and that's what we've been trying to do so far, is to get code, to get contributions, to see what they need our help, to see what we can contribute to them. And it's really one organization helping the other and really building on top of each other. But both organizations do not have short-term deployment partners. So again, it's more about just using what the others are working on and not really following the lead of one or the other towards something. Again, it comes down to when can you actually deploy and what.
Yep. I mean, that's fair. So I mean, I think on the ION engagement directly, again, we need relevant documents to see how it aligns with what we're defining, and if there are useful extensions to what we're defining that match what ION needs for deploying DPUs at the edge of an ION network, for the purposes that they've described to us before in these calls and in the use case group calls on. And then for CXL, there's nothing immediate to define. And again, in general, from what I know about CXL, we may want to define a common config interface at some point for, memory semantics, memory access, but not the memory semantics and access itself. That would come from the CXL working group. This would be for the config for a DPU, so everyone just configs it in the same way. Here's the library, here are the APIs to configure it all, and everyone just implements and exposes in the same way, and we're done. Again, that would be a useful thing for OPI. There's no reason to do that sort of thing 3 different ways, or 4 different ways, or 6 different ways. or 18 different ways, depending on how you count the number of DPU vendors. Right? So that's that. Nothing again, nothing immediate. So. All right. Any other topics or any final thoughts or comments from anyone? All right. Thank you, everyone. Useful discussion. So we've got 3 reviews set up for the 14th and working group updates for the 7th.
Perfect.
All right.
Point number 4.
Thank you.